the Rock and Roll RPMs come to do battle this very day.
Southern Tag Team titles on the line right now. The challengers are out of Allentown, Pennsylvania at a total weight of 568 pounds. Brian Knobbs and Jerry Sag, the Nasty Boys. The Southern Tag Team champions defending the belts out of Atlanta, Georgia at 454 pounds. Mike Davis and Tommy Lane, the Rock and Roll RPM. This match, one fall, special television time limit 30 minutes. The Southern Tag Team titles are at stake.
Oak, the champions, peeling off their classy headgear and formal wear and the belts. And you know, it's an interesting thing. Every time a champion takes that belt off prior to a match, that could be the last time that he will ever have it around his waist. A lot of guys don't stop and think about that, but it is a living fact, Dave.
That is absolutely true.
Nasty Boys playing for it to be that way. Brian Knobbs, Jerry Sag, big guys. They've got their attire off, and we're about ready for it. Referee Jerry Calhoun says good to it, and here we go with Knobbs starting.
You know what? Southern Tag Team belts looking very good. They have been reworked. Beautiful belts at stake here today, and of course, prestigious belts. I think you fans around the area know this is the toughest set of tag team belts, one of the toughest certainly, to win. But if anything, they're even tougher to hang on to.
Boy, you sure called it. You look at the situation. The challengers today, Knobbs and Sag, held those belts, but they held them only for a week because they went in against the RPMs. And while they're still screaming about the tactics the RPMs use, the fact is they lost them to the Rock and Roll RPM. Mike Davis, Tommy Lane came away with them. Sag and Brian Knobbs had picked him up from Diamond and Tanaka. And we have had, I couldn't tell you how many changes this year. It is just a very, well, we call this the tag team capital of the world. And boy, I got to tell you, from the competition it goes, you can believe that it is aptly named.
This is Jerry Sag coming in for the Nasty Boys. The battle Mike Davis. Couple of powerful tag teams here. I tell you what, we saw the match on TV, of course, where the Rock and Roll RPMs won the belts from the Nasty Boys. The level of competition is definitely championship caliber. Main event at any arena in the country. You're looking at it right now as Jerry Sag and his partner Brian Knobbs challenge to try to regain the Southern Tag Team titles that they lost to this very same Rock and Roll RPM team.
Sag tagging out to his larger partner, Mike Davis. Getting that arm stretch. He'll need another shirt size when this one's over. Boy, look at that knob spin out of there for a big guy and go right to work on Lane.
I would suspect Brian is going to be pretty careful in this match. He got blindsided by Mike Davis with what Brian says Davis had something in his hand. Now, whether he did or not, we didn't see it, but he might have.
Yeah.
But it pretty well knocked Brian out for some time and allowed Mike Davis to pin him and the Rock and Roll RPMs to walk away with the belts around their waist.
Knobbs told both of us, Dave, that he had never been knocked out with one punch in his life, and he knows he had to have something in his hand.
Tommy Lane in the side headlock. Jerry Sag comes in with a big forearm and then a broad arm across the back. There was some hair pulling by Tommy Lane. Referee steps in between them. A little bravery involved there, would you say?
Yeah.
Stepping in between Tommy Lane and Jerry Sag. I'm not sure. I think I might call this one from several feet back.
Oh, boy, you got that right, because in addition to the obvious glories and revenue that comes from being the Southern Tag Champ, I think think there's just a lot of personal things going on in the nines of the Nasty Boys that they would like very much to really just beat the RPMs, even if this was a non-title match. Mike Davis, Tommy Lane having a hard time. They are not starting well in this match with the Nasty Boys, Dave.
No, it's pretty obvious that just what you've been saying is what's going on. The Nasty Boys have been pointing for this match. They frankly haven't worried about defending belts for the last couple of weeks. They have been pointing toward getting back at the rock and roll RPMs, and that's what they're trying to do right now.
You know, the thing that I would throw up as a caution to those fans, many of them may be rooting for the Nasty Boys, some of them may be rooting for the RPMs, but I'm going to tell you that the experience that Davis and Lane have is a thing that you just can't put too much emphasis on, because these guys have been around the horn against the best tag teams in the country, and while they're off to a slow start, don't for 1 minute think that they're out of it. Nasty Boys, they know that, but they continue to pour it off. We've got a 1-fall 30-minute time limit on this match.
We're about 5 minutes into it right now. Jerry Sag able to maintain control. He's still got Tommy Lane in the side headlock. Got him in there pretty tight, too. Look at him go.
Southern Tag titles on the line. Very, very important match. And it's happening right here on Championship Wrestling for you today. As the Rock and Roll RPMs defending their titles. And I'll tell you, if... That's what I'm talking.
Yep.
Now, legal or not, talk about experience, taking advantage of that slingshot effect close to the rope. Mike Davis, dump Brian Knob, and stand by, folks. The Rock and Roll RPM starting to make their move, baby.
You may see a different type match from now on than you have so far. So far, it's been controlled by the Nasty Boys. Tommy Lane with a cover now, and Brian Knobbs can't make it stick past the 1 count.
That was a dandy little snap suplex that he got on that big Brian Knobbs. Davey, I'll tell you what, we're going to keep the tape rolling on this, but we're going to have to take time out for a break. We are getting way behind. I knew we had the match coming up, but I thought we'd be in a little better shape. We are 1, 2, no. We are going to have to take time out. We will continue going here and be back in just a moment.